My family betrayed me for years, but I uncovered their lies and took control of my life. My name's Alex. I'm 22. I used to be just your average guy, chilling with a semi-normal life, doing regular shit like trying to figure out what to eat for lunch and binge-watching Netflix. Then, bam! Out of nowhere, my world comes crashing down. And no, it wasn't some corny soap opera moment. It didn't happen all at once. It was more like I was slowly suffocated by a freaking pillow made of lies and secrets. It started with the little stuff. My mom, Karen, the perfect mom, who always wore that smile that could melt ice, who'd pretend to care about my day and act like she actually remembered my last birthday. She was suddenly off. Like one day she'd be super momish, all warm and sweet, and the next she'd be staring into space like she was daydreaming about running away to Fiji with a new identity. At first, I thought it was just the stress of adulting, you know? Parents get old, they lose it a little. But no, this was different. Then there was my dad, Richard. 46, wears expensive suits like he's some Wall Street god. Mr. Perfect, the guy with the answers to everything. Yeah, he was always the rock of the family, until, well, he wasn't. Dude was spending more time in his office, and not the working late kind of time. More like the secret meeting kind of time. I tried peeking in once or twice when he was busy, and I swear to God, there was this dude I'd never seen before, sitting there like they were discussing world domination, or how to ruin people's lives. At first, I thought it was some boring business thing, but then it started happening all the time. Something wasn't right. But the real kicker? My mom, who was always the loving one, started pulling the most bizarre shit. I'd find my keys in random spots. She'd forget where she put her glasses 3 times in an hour. And the worst? She'd zone out, staring at the wall like it was speaking to her in ancient tongues. But like the genius I am, I shrugged it off. Until that one night. I'm walking past their bedroom, and I hear her voice. Soft, but like, real serious. He knows too much. We might have to do something about him. Hold up. Do something about me? Yeah, that's right. I'm not some side character in a bad TV show. They were talking about me like I was some liability, a threat to their oh-so-perfect little world. That was the moment everything changed. Suddenly, my perfect family wasn't so perfect anymore. Hell, it wasn't even a family. It was a damn conspiracy. So yeah, things went from, hey, let's grab a pizza to, wait, what the hell is going on real quick? They'd been hiding something from me for who knows how long, and now I had to figure out what the hell was going on before they did something about me. And trust me, when you hear your parents plotting like that, you start questioning everything. Everything. The more time passed, the more I started to see through the bullshit. My dad, the guy who always acted like he had life figured out, the rock of the family, suddenly turned into some distant stranger. Like I'd walk into a room, try to say something, and he'd literally just wave me off like I was asking him for a ride to the DMV. Cool, Dad. Love you too. It felt like I was becoming an inconvenience. Meanwhile, my mom, she was playing the I'm concerned card like it was her full-time job. Every time I walked past her, she'd be like, "Oh, sweetie, how was your day? Are you okay? You sure you're feeling all right? Should we do something? Let's bake cookies. Let's go to the park." Like, chill, Mom. I'm not 5. I can see what you're doing. Trying to keep me busy, distracted, so I don't start putting the puzzle pieces together. Too bad I wasn't born yesterday. And sure, I could have just let things slide, but screw that. One night, when the house was quiet and the only sounds were the occasional creak of the floorboards. Honestly, this house was like a haunted mansion. I decided to snoop. I wasn't proud of it, but at that point, I was desperate. The need for answers was eating at me, so I went straight for my dad's desk. Yeah, I know, super cliché, but it was like a scene straight out of a bad thriller movie, and I was ready for my starring role. The drawer was locked, but no worries, I've got skills. A couple of seconds, and I'm in. The first thing I see? A folder. Not just any folder, but one that was shoved deep under a mountain of paperwork like it was trying to hide from me. The name on the folder wasn't anyone I recognized. My heartbeat kicked up a notch. What the hell was this? I opened it, trying to be as quiet as possible, like I wasn't about to discover something that would blow up my whole damn life. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside, a bunch of documents, contracts, agreements, handwritten notes, the kind of stuff that makes your stomach churn. But what freaked me out wasn't just the paperwork. It was the fact that my name wasn't just mentioned in it. Oh no, my name was at the center of everything. It was like they were planning something around me, something that involved me. And I gotta be honest, my brain just short-circuited. I was staring at this pile of papers, heart racing, thinking, what the actual hell is going on here? Part of me wanted to put everything back, pretend I never saw it, and just keep living my life. But I couldn't. I had to know. If they were hiding this from me, then they were hiding something big, and that scared the hell out of me. But also, it pissed me off. How long had they been keeping this from me? How deep did the rabbit hole go? I wasn't about to back down now. Over the next few weeks, I couldn't stop digging. Seriously, it was like I was on a mission from the universe or something. I just had to know what the hell was really going on with my parents. Every time I uncovered something new, it felt like I was getting closer to unraveling this insane mystery. But the more I found, the crazier things got. My mom's weird mood swings, totally connected. My dad's sudden disappearances, same deal. It was like they were living in some secret world, and I had just been handed the worst VIP pass ever. I started seeing patterns, but not the kind of cute patterns you find in a rug. No, these were the you're being played and it's not even subtle kind of patterns. My mom would act all overprotective, like she was my second-grade teacher trying to help me with a math test I already knew. Meanwhile, Dad? He was disappearing more and more, like Houdini, but with less magic and more shady phone calls. I started to feel like I was in a twisted reality TV show, where my family was the train wreck, and I was the poor sucker who just realized they were on camera. Then one day, while rifling through some old files in the back of my dad's office, because why not, right? I found something that made my stomach flip. It was just a slip of paper, but it was enough to send 1,000 red flags waving in my face. The name written on it? Nathan Burns. Now, at first, it didn't ring any bells, but then it hit me. Nathan Burns. That was the name my dad always whispered about when he thought I wasn't paying attention. We need to talk to Nathan about the next step. Or, Nathan has the resources we need. Every time, it was like he was referring to this guy, like he was the next coming of Steve Jobs or some shady business genius. And that's when it clicked. Nathan Burns wasn't just some business associate. Oh no, he was deep in the family drama. And not in a good way. I was honestly freaking out at this point. Like, I had barely started to connect the dots, and already I was getting a picture of a world I had never even imagined. My parents weren't just involved in some random business deal. They were tangled up in something way darker. But what? What the hell was Nathan Burns even to them? Was he a friend, a business partner, a something else? I wasn't about to sit around twiddling my thumbs, waiting for them to come clean. Screw that. I had enough information now. The next step? Confrontation. I didn't know what I was walking into, but honestly, at that point, what was the worst they could do? Tell me I wasn't their son? Newsflash, guys. I already figured that part out. Time to find out how deep this rabbit hole really went. It was late one evening when I finally couldn't take it anymore. The suspense had been eating at me for weeks, and I was done playing nice. I walked straight into the living room where my parents were sitting, acting like everything was hunky-dory. I'd had enough of their fake smiles and half-assed family time. The tension was so thick you could practically cut it with a knife. So, what did I do? I went full send. Who the hell is Nathan Burns? I shot the question at them, my voice shaky but dead set on getting an answer. Yeah, it was a gamble, but I was over pretending I didn't see what was going on. This was my family now, the one where every conversation felt like a chess match. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. My mom's face went blank, and then, BAM! Her eyes darted over to my dad like she was trying to figure out if he could come up with some kind of bullshit excuse to get us out of this. But no more excuses. I was over it. We can explain. my dad muttered, but his voice wasn't all that convincing. I swear, I'd never heard him sound so human. The guy was scrambling like he'd just been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't the one who needed an explanation. No. They needed to explain to me. They were the ones who had some serious explaining to do. My dad, the guy who was always Mr. Tough Guy, the guy who could have given lessons on keeping a straight face in any situation, was now sitting there, stammering. It was almost like I had found the one thing that could rattle him. He tried to calm me down, of course. Alex, please, just sit down. But I wasn't having it. You think I'm gonna just sit down after I've spent weeks playing detective, discovering all this shady stuff? Hell no. Sit down? No, I want answers. And I want them now. I could feel the walls closing in on us. It was like the air had turned to concrete. And for the first time in my life, I saw my dad actually vulnerable. Like he was on the verge of being exposed for all the crap he had been hiding. It was wild. The guy who was supposed to have it all together couldn't even handle the heat. After a long, uncomfortable silence, and trust me, it felt like forever, they finally cracked. My mom, who had been so adamant about keeping up appearances, just looked at me like she was giving in to some kind of inevitable fate. And that's when it happened. They told me everything. And let me tell you, nothing could have prepared me for what they were about to drop on me. It wasn't just some small lie. No, this was a goddamn iceberg, and the tip was just the beginning. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was just standing there, staring at my parents like they were aliens. Nathan Burns wasn't some random business partner or boring investment guy they had to deal with. Nah, Nathan was the key to a whole other world. One I had zero idea about, but was apparently smack dab in the middle of. My parents? Yeah, they weren't just running some successful company. They were running a freaking empire built on shady deals, manipulation, and God knows what else. The stuff they were mixed up in? This was next level dirty. And the worst part? I'd been completely blind to it. For years, my perfect family had been feeding me lies, just a steady diet of, "We're so successful, honey," and "Everything's fine, don't worry." All of it was fake. Their success wasn't about hard work or good decisions. It was about who they could screw over, what dirt they could dig up on people, and who they could blackmail into playing along. I felt like a damn fool. All this time, I thought my parents were my role models. Turns out, they were just hustlers in disguise. And I was just another pawn in their game. And here's the kicker. They didn't just pull me into their shady little world. They used me. Like straight up used me to move their plans forward. I was a cog in their messed up machine, a tool to get what they wanted. And guess what? I had been so blind, I didn't even know. They'd been manipulating me for years, and the worst part? I just thought I was the son. Like, I had my whole life wrapped around their lies. And then bam! Reality hits. At first, I couldn't even process what I was hearing. How the hell could they betray me like this? I was their kid. I thought they loved me. But no. Apparently, I was just a piece of property they could use to climb their greasy ladder of power. I wasn't even their son anymore. I was a resource. That messed me up. But I wasn't going to sit here like some chump and take it. If they thought they could control me, well, they were dead wrong. Dead wrong. They had played me for too long. But that was over. It was my turn to flip the script. I wasn't gonna sit in the back seat of their game anymore. I was gonna take the wheel. After I found out the truth, everything changed. Like flipped upside down and slammed into a wall changed. I couldn't even look at my parents anymore without feeling like I was starring in a freaking soap opera. They went from being mom and dad to being these strangers who were constantly talking in lies. Every time they opened their mouths, it felt like their words were coated in fake gold. I started pulling away from them, not talking unless I had to. Honestly, it wasn't even personal anymore. It was just me, trying to protect myself from whatever warped reality they were living in. It was like a switch flipped in my brain, and suddenly I couldn't unsee them the way I had before. They weren't my parents anymore. They were just people who had used me as a pawn in some twisted game. Great job, guys. They begged me to forgive them, to just move on and forget everything. We didn't mean to hurt you, Alex. Yeah, well, too bad. They didn't just hurt me, they shredded my trust, and that's something you can't just glue back together like a broken coffee mug. Once trust is gone, it's gone. Period. I wasn't buying their sorry act. No amount of fake tears or, we're still a family, right? Crap was gonna work on me. The damage was done. But it wasn't just the betrayal that stung. It was the fact that I now had to figure out how to take down Nathan Burns and make sure that scumbag never came near me or my family again. I knew it wouldn't be easy. I couldn't take down my parents, not on my own. They had power, connections, money, the kind of influence that made your head spin. But I wasn't about to let them off the hook. No way. I was gonna make them pay for what they did to me. So, what did I do? I went full-on investigator mode. I started digging into Nathan Burns like I was Sherlock Holmes on a mission. I needed dirt, and I needed it fast. I went through every single scrap of info I could find on him. His businesses, the people he'd screwed over, the deals he'd made that should have been illegal in at least 3 countries. I got a mental list of every single bad thing he'd done, and trust me, it wasn't pretty. This guy was bad news. But now he was my ticket to making sure my family would never walk over me again. I built a case against him, piece by piece, like I was assembling the world's most twisted jigsaw puzzle. The endgame? When the time was right, I would make sure Nathan and my parents were exposed for everything they were. They thought they could control me, use me as a pawn. Nah. Now I was the one pulling the strings. My plan? Yeah, it was risky, but what was I supposed to do? Just sit around and let my parents and this Nathan guy continue playing me like I was some background character in their messed up game? Hell no. So I did what I had to do. I started getting closer to Nathan. Played the part of the obedient son, the trustworthy kid. It wasn't hard. He wanted to believe I was on his side, and I was more than happy to feed him exactly what he wanted to hear. I didn't go full-on betray my parents mode right away, though. Nah, I kept it subtle. Just dropped enough little tidbits about my parents, the stuff I knew, enough to make Nathan think I was just one of his pawns in his little power game. But I wasn't. I was playing the long game, and I was finally in control. It was like a chess match, except the pieces weren't just my parents. They were all these shady characters who thought they could walk all over me. I fed Nathan just the right amount of info, little by little, like breadcrumbs, making him think I was cozying up to him. And the best part? He had no clue. Not yet, anyway. It was like I was the cat and he was the mouse, and I was getting real damn close to pouncing. I kept my cool, made sure I wasn't too obvious. I let him get comfortable. Nathan wasn't as smart as he thought he was, and that was gonna be his downfall. But then the moment came. The moment where I dropped the hammer. I wasn't gonna sit there like some clueless pawn anymore. I had everything lined up. Every shady deal, every little dirty secret Nathan and my parents had buried. It was all in my hands. And when the time was right, boom, I leaked it all. Every single secret, every crooked deal, every under-the-table transaction. The world was gonna know what kind of people my parents were, and what kind of scum Nathan Burns really was. I wasn't just exposing him for fun. No, I had a purpose. I made sure the right people found out. The ones who could actually make a difference. I wasn't just spilling tea for the drama. This was about making sure Nathan and my parents never got away with their crap again. It wasn't just about them looking bad. It was about making sure they never had the power to hurt me, or anyone else, ever again. And let me tell you, when you've been played your whole life, there's something incredibly satisfying about watching the pieces finally fall into place. My plan wasn't just about revenge. It was about taking back control. About making sure these people never made a puppet out of me again. The aftermath was intense. My parents were furious. Nathan was out of the picture, and I was left picking up the pieces of a life that had been shattered. But something had changed in me. I wasn't the same guy I was before. I was stronger, smarter, and I had control over my future. The betrayal had broken me, but it also made me realize something important. I didn't need them anymore. I had taken control of my life, and no one, Not even my own parents would ever have that kind of power over me again.